Okay, so we're going to start with day 9 in our science STAAR review, and now we're moving into our final category number 4, which is organisms and the environment. Phew, it's been a long journey. So here we go. Number 1, using the chart below, what would most likely happen if this specific ocean region was overfished by humans? So if the humans are overfishing, that means I'm going to see a decrease in sharks, and I'm going to see a decrease in sardines because that's a fish. I'm going to see an increase in algae because now there's nothing eating the algae, and I'm going to see a decrease in the marine worms because the fish just simply aren't dying because human beings are overfishing them. So I did not have a decrease in algae. I did not have an increase in the shark population. I did have a decrease in marine worms, and the sun had nothing to do with overfishing. So your best answer choice was C. Okay, number 2, in order for parasites, here we go, parasites to survive off of their host, they need to reproduce faster than their host. That's a possible answer choice. Let's see what we can rule out. They become self-supporting. No, they never become self-supporting. They're parasites. They have to have the host for survival. They fight off other parasites. No, they don't fight anybody. And they have a symbiotic. Symbiotic means it's a positive relationship. They're working together to achieve a common goal. And that certainly is not the case between a parasite and a host. Your answer is A. Parasites have to be able to reproduce faster than their host because they're killing their host. And once their host dies, they've got to be able to find another host to survive off of. Number 3, which of the following statements is not true about the organism that completes this food chain? The arrows are going this way. It derives energy directly from the sun. No, it does not. It's actually eating the caterpillar. It has sharp claws or teeth. Well, we can assume that it does because it's eating the caterpillar. It depends, so we'll see if that's a possible, we'll see what we're dealing with here. I'm sorry. This should say not true. This should say true. It depends on other animals for energy. Yes, it does. It's depending on the caterpillar. It can move from one place to another. We have to assume because the caterpillar moves that this organism also moves in order to be able to hunt, track, prey, and kill its prey, which is a caterpillar. So the one that's not true is A. It does not derive energy directly from the sun, and so therefore it is not true. Number 4, which does not, here's another not, describe a predator-prey. Remember, predators have to actively hunt, track, and kill their prey. So dolphins working in a team. Yes, dolphins are the predator. Fish are the prey. That does describe. This is true. An eagle would be the predator. The mouse is the prey. This is true as well. A polar bear is a predator. Searching for his seal to eat, that is the prey. That is true. A barnacle attaching itself to a whale, that's like a parasite, and that's going to be D. The barnacle is just attaching itself. It's not actively hunting, tracking, or killing its prey. As a matter of fact, a barnacle is about this big. It's much smaller than a whale. All right, question number 5. In a rainforest, I have giant trees. When they die, they leave hundreds of seedlings that compete to take its place. What adaptation is most necessary for a young tree to survive and mature in this environment? Well, hundreds of seedlings are competing to take its place. That means a lot of baby trees are going on. It has to be able to grow tall very quickly to be able to get the sunlight for the leaves. A deep root system while growing at a slow and steady rate? No, because it's got to out-compete those seedlings for light. The ability to retain water in drought conditions? No, that has nothing to do with this. The ability to grow narrow, small leaves? I'm not really sure I even understood what that had to do with it. It has to be able to grow tall very quickly to out-compete the light for the other trees. Every spring, an ecologist records several environmental measures, is looking for a relationship to the deer population. So we got to really look at this table. We've got the year, we've got the deer population, we've got a temperature and a rainfall. Right away, I notice that in 2011, the deer population almost went down by half. The temperature actually went up by 1 degree, which really isn't that significant. But look at the rainfall here. we had a huge decrease in rainfall. So the deer population decreases with sudden spikes in temperature. Well, that's not true. Actually, all these temperatures are relatively close together. Deer are dependent, and actually deer population increases with a spike in temperature. Deer are dependent on grass growing with lots of rainfall. Ample means lots of rainfall, yes, and we know that they are. Deer do not adapt well in cooler environments. Well, actually, this deer rebounded. It came back in population. I don't know if it was so much the weather, a temperature, as much as it was that rainfall and the ability for grass to grow. There was more hunting. I have no idea if there was more hunting. The graph doesn't tell us that. The answer has definitely got to do with rainfall. Number 7. Which of the following is a passable research question for looking at the relationship between temperature and different species of wildflowers? How do late spring freezes, that's temperature, affect the population of different species of wildflowers? Well, there you go. There's wildflowers, there's temperature. Do milder winters, there's temperature, there's wildflowers. Both of these are very, very suitable research questions to answer the relationship between temperature and the population of different species of wildflowers. Geneticist is investigating how a new species of tomato plant may be able to survive in different soil compositions. In his experiment, what factor is his variable? What is he changing? He can only change one thing, and they tell you what they're changing. He's changing his soil composition. Everything else has to stay the same. It has to stay the same, or else how do you know what you're really testing? So the answer was soil composition. Number 9, conservationists argue that we should not kill every snake we see. Why not? Well, if we kill snakes, that also decreases the population of their prey? No, actually they would increase. A decrease in the snake population leads to an increase in more venomous reptiles. I have no idea how that's even related. I don't know how a snake and a venomous reptile are related. It doesn't really tell me that in the question. The population of its natural prey, such as mice and insects, will increase. Yes, they will. The number of snakes is directly related to coyotes. Where in here is it talking about coyotes? I have no idea. The answer is C. 10. A local farmer must annually, that means every year, apply weed prevention chemicals around his bean plants. Why do the weeds continue to, he's putting the pesticide down every year. Why do they come back every year? Well, because the weeds are a natural species. They're there in the environment. And so when the seeds come, they come back every year. And so every year the farmer is going to have to reapply the herbicide. So this is the best answer choice here. The weeds do not enter into a mutually symbiotic relationship. As a matter of fact, they're competitors for space and water and light. He's not using the correct formulation of weed prevention. That was a distractor answer. That's a distractor. We don't know exactly what the correct formulation is, and you can't kill them indefinitely unless you wipe out the entire species and the entire ecosystem, which is really hard to do because the farmer can't control the land that isn't his to control. Bugs attracted to the bean plants are carrying the seeds of the weeds into the garden. That may be happening. It's probably most likely wind or birds, but the best answer is A. Which of the following is an example of selective breeding? Selective breeding means that we are purposefully breeding, just like Maisie. Maisie is fluffy and she's small and she's just the most perfect dog ever because she was bred to be that way. She's bred to be kind and gentle, and she's bred, we bred her to be that way, human beings did. So rabbits with larger back legs to escape predators, that's natural selection. That means those are the rabbits that survived and were able to pass on their DNA. Eagles with sharp claws, again, natural selection. Those are the eagles that survived and were able to pass on that adaptation to their offspring. Owls with keen eyesight, again, natural selection. Those are the owls that survived. They were able to pass that trait on to their excuse me, just a second, to their offspring. So, horses with fast gallops are chosen to produce offspring. Guess what? We chose them to breed for that trait. The answer is D. Why are oil spills a major concern? Well, the answer is D. All of the above are concerns of oil spills on ocean ecosystems. Every single one of these is harmful to the environment. All right, and the bell just rang, so we're probably going to have a lot of noise here in a minute, but an inherited characteristic that's passed to an organism by its parents, that is going to be a genetic trait. All of the living and non-living things in a given area, that's going to be your ecosystem. Ecosystems are made up of all the living and non-living factors. An organism that provides energy, either intentionally or unintentionally, to another organism, that is going to be a host. Whether or not they want to be part of the energy source, willingly or unwillingly. Describes the non-living things, that's going to be abiotic. Remember, A is the opposite of. The intent to produce organisms with specific features by selecting parents. Selecting parents is selective breeding. We are actually breeding for that trait. An organism that derives its energy from the sun and is often a food source, well, that's going to be your producer, of course. And an organism in a food web that's eaten by other animals, that is going to be your prey. An animal in a food web that hunts and eats other organisms, that is going to be your predator. Variety of and number of organisms in an ecosystem is biodiversity. Bio meaning life, diversity meaning many different kinds. An organism that must get its energy from another organism is a parasite. Describe the living things in the ecosystem is biotic. The concept that states the best adapted organisms for a particular environment will be the ones most likely to survive and reproduce. That is natural selection. An organism that feeds off another without a mutual benefit, that is going to be your parasite. Feeds off another, sorry, so that's a parasite. So let's go back and look at 10. An organism that must get its energy from another organism, silly me, that's a consumer. And last but not least, the colonization of a new habitat or the predictable and steady changes in an existing habitat after it's been disturbed, that would be secession. All right, so I will see you in day 10, and we are almost done. So happy studying for STAAR.